Nice. There we go. So, this is where we left off from our story playthrough earlier this week. We went through the intro all the way through the mall, talked quite a bit about the parallels between Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 3. We've seen, Heather having this nightmare sequence in Lakeside Amusement Park where the game starts, and how that parallels Harry's nightmare at the beginning of Silent Hill 1, where he gets attacked by the Grey Children, or Mumblers, whatever you want to call them, and then wakes up in a diner. So it's a nightmare that is foreshadowing to some place that you'll see later, much like Silent Hill 3, where we get the Lakeside Amusement Park nightmare foreshadowing where, we're going to wind up later in the game. The nightmare ends when Heather dies, either from an enemy, falling into a pit, or continuing to the end of the nightmare on the roller coaster track. And once she dies in the nightmare, she wakes up in the Happy Burger of the mall, very similar to Harry Mason waking up in the diner. She encounters Douglas Cartland, who is a private detective that's been hired by the cult, by the Order, specifically by Claudia Wolf, to track down this kidnapped person. Essentially, Claudia told Douglas the story about Alessa and how she used to be part of their group, and that she was stolen, kidnapped by Harry Mason. So Douglas is, doing all this under the impression that this girl has been, kidnapped and brainwashed by Harry, and he's sort of slowly uncovering the truth of what's going on, the actual, motivation and history of Claudia. But we see Douglas, have our first sort of interactions with him. We meet Claudia Wolf, after going through the bestsellers bookstore, who is our parallel, Douglas being our parallel to Sybil from Silent Hill 1. Sort of your helpful law enforcement or former law enforcement person who's going to wind up, really helping Heather a lot. He winds up driving her to Silent Hill and ultimately being a really, supportive figure. And then we have Claudia, the parallel to Dahlia, our cult member who's walking around speaking in riddles, wearing no shoes, generally being kind of weird, but still giving us information, helping us understand more about everything going on. One of my favorite things right away, this payphone going off. There's lots of weird little audio cues, things that are not, I don't know if you'd consider it a jump scare. It is just sort of like a sudden sound. It's not necessarily set up as like a loud breaking sound or a scream or anything so like tropey, but things like that. If you're walking around and you're spending your time exploring and looking at every little thing in the environment, and you sort of lose track of stuff in the environment, especially when it's a very quiet background, there's not like a whole lot of ambient music or things going on, and then you approach these payphones and one of them just randomly rings just once. That sort of stuff was always really cool to me. Just, it's not overtly like a jump scare type of thing, but it is still enough to kind of make you unsettled, sort of sudden and unexpected. The chains holding the doors together are secured with a bolt and nut. The nut is screwed on tight, and I can't turn it with my hands. So you can see that's going to be where we need to head down. Platform 2. All of this to eventually make our way to Bergen Street, which itself is a reference to the movie Jacob's Ladder. A lot of dog enemies wandering around in this little area here. The path is blocked with trash. I can't go through here. Hey, Nora. I'm not feeling great at the moment, but we're okay. We're getting through this. Got a nutcracker. Path is blocked with trash. Can't go through here. It's the same kind of trash pile we were seeing on the other side from upstairs. Got the nutcracker, which was sitting in this like open toolbox. Just like trying to look at all the little details. You can see a few familiar reused assets. There's the red shopping cart back there that you find the handgun in Silent Hill 2. Bad dogs. And then this side, you can see we have this. There's like a body. You can see feet sticking out from underneath the cardboard and newspapers. Some health drinks and ammo. If I can pick it up. Is that not actually? Thank you. I'm pretty sure that's handgun bullets. Path is blocked with trash. Can't go through here. There it is. Very specific, like, hitboxes for examining and getting certain response text. Is someone sleeping here? All this red stuff around here is blood. This guy's not sleeping. Why am I not the least bit surprised? I think that nightmare's numbed my senses a little. A dead body. I can't really do anything for the poor guy. So even at this point, you know, this is still relatively early in like everything that's happening to Heather. You know, she's already seen a lot of messed up things, but this is still essentially just, you know, relatively early on in her story. And already she feels like she's being, you know, kind of desensitized to the horrors around her, to the point where even, you know, she manages to point that out, that like, you know, there's a dead body here. This probably should be bothering me more, but she's feeling desensitized to it because of the nightmare. And using the nutcracker, we can break the nut on holding that chain together. and make our way down here to Hazel Street. Platform 2. Love all the graffiti and everything on this train car. It's pretty varied. I wonder if a lot of this is like actual graffiti, considering Team Silent liked to do that a lot. They would take textures and pictures and things like that and sort of recreate them or digitize them and use them as textures and things throughout their games. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they looked at, books or magazines or things on like street art. And then stuck a bunch of graffiti in here. But it's just like absolutely covered. We get that very distinct camera angle pointing out our open gift box with a shotgun sticking out. It's a gift-wrapped box. Could it be a birthday present? No, I guess not. Nobody I know would give me something this gross. But I'll take it anyway. It should come in handy against the monsters. We got a shotgun. So there's an interesting theme running through this game about birthdays, specifically birthday, like it being somebody's birthday. They make a big deal. There's the birthday caller, happy birthday caller later on in Brookhaven, and writings and things that say happy birthday on the walls. We have this gift, birthday gift, where Heather picks up a shotgun, and there's kind of this like recurring theme. Although Heather makes a, common point throughout the game that it's not her birthday, and it's not. And it's one of those things where it's not her birthday, it's not really Alessa's birthday. We're sort of seeing things for the god. It is the god that's growing inside of her's birthday, because it is that close to being born. So it's one of those weird little concepts where not only does it play around with the idea of Heather and her birthday, and it gives you some insight into her age and her past lives. We'll get to that more when we get to Brookhaven and the happy birthday caller and all of that, but I like to think that a lot of the birthday theme also comes from, this god inside Heather becoming real and essentially, in a way, being born. Hey, what's up, Techie? Did you see the post from Big Band Japan where they found the sources for some wall textures from Silent Hill 2? Yeah. Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 1. There's like all these texture packs where it's like pictures of brick walls and sheet metal walls with like stuff written on them. And they found like where that matches up to those very specific textures and things in Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2. So that's why I said it wouldn't surprise me if they did have some sort of graffiti wall art, pack or something that they would convert into textures to use, because they seem to do that a lot. Like almost all of these textures, like these tile wall textures and these floor, like dingy floor textures and stuff, a lot of these come from those like pre-existing texture packs. Like, it's really interesting when you start looking into all of these elements, because there's so much stuff. It's not only really admirable how well Team Silent did with all the things that they made themselves, all the textures, all the models, all the sounds, and everything that are uniquely created specifically for the game, but also their really clever usage of existing things. There are a lot of stock sounds, there are a lot of stock textures. There are a lot of things that are just sort of, bought in a pack, in a texture pack or a sound pack or something, and then used. But it never really stands out. There's a lot of games that'll do that kind of thing, and it's very noticeable. Even within the Silent Hill games, Silent Hill 4, for example, uses a lot of those reused textures and stock sounds. The big difference being that in like Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3, the way that they're used, and there are little slight alterations. You put some filters, you change them up a little bit to make them not sound quite so distinct and like the original stock asset. So like Silent Hill 4, it's very noticeable. Silent Hill 2 and 3, not so much. I just think they're very clever in the way that they use those assets. There's a subway map here, but even without looking at this, I still know my way home. I just need to get on the Bergen Street train at platform 3. So Bergen Street, I mentioned earlier, is a reference to Jacob's Ladder. Our main character, Jacob, in the film, has to get on a subway to get home, and gets on the exact same platform, Bergen Street. Same street and everything. And even the way the subway looks in Jacob's Ladder, like it being a very dingy, dirty, messed up subway, a lot of those things are very, very heavily, referenced and almost recreated for the subway segment of this game. There are step ladders and wheelbarrows blocking the way. I can't get through. This is just a fire door. It doesn't lead anywhere. For a long time, I did a lot of story playthroughs where I got frustrated about this door, where I was like, it's a door. It's got to go somewhere. It's not locked. It's not jammed. Why would it not lead anywhere? Like, for a long time, this didn't make sense to me. And I should point out that I've never lived anywhere where subways are a thing, so my experience with subways is very limited. But yeah, it took me a while to figure out how this works. Like, this literally goes nowhere. There is a wall behind this door, because this whole thing is made to like swing open or swing closed. So from like this part right here, this little spot, all the way over to this spot, you can see there's like a hinge right there and right there. So the whole thing would swing closed and block off this entire hallway in case of like a fire where it needs to be contained. And then the emergency exit is used for people to get from this section into this hallway. So this door is just used to get from, in here to in here in the event that this whole thing is closed. So it makes a lot more sense to me now. It definitely took me a long time to figure that out. I used to just get frustrated and be like, why would this door not lead anywhere? Why not just say that it's, broken or, whatever else? So we know we need to go to Bergen Street. Which is right down there. But we're going to wander around and explore a little bit more. Doors shut tight. Fire doors are locked. They'd be tough to open, so forget it. Whoops. If it's just for going in and out, I should use the small door at the end. So she even explains it. Like, this text for this door kind of helps better explain, because this is what that door looks like when it's completely closed instead of against the wall and open. Is that a real thing in subways? I think so. Yeah, it does seem like kind of a weird thing for them to just come up with for the design of this subway. So I assume it's a real thing. So before we go to Bergen, let's go to St. Renata platform. God damn. Even on normal, you really get the sense that, like, I don't know, the handgun really sucks in this game. Because even on normal, what was that, 8 shots? 8 shots to down one dog? Seven. They keep running up the stairs. Cheating. Here we go. You can see there's nowhere else to go here. And now this is locked. And they sort of make these areas look a bit tempting for players, where it's like, oh, I wanna get over here, but this lock is broken, right? And you think, oh, I can just like hop down onto the tracks and then climb right back up on this side. And if you try, immediately a train comes and hits you. And since there's a lot of little unique death scenes in certain parts of this game, I am going to be doing some intentional dying just like that, just to kind of show that off. Because we've also still got some other things that I want to show. Last time I mentioned that there is an extra sequence that you can get if you examine the correct things. So at the very end of last stream, we first entered the subway. We found a newspaper that talks about a person getting decapitated, jumping onto the tracks and getting decapitated by a train. So we have the newspaper that talks about that incident. and says that, it happened 4 months ago in these subways. And then you find, first you examine that newspaper, then you examine this. I read this a long time ago. It's a nothing little occult magazine. Seemed like a bunch of crap to me. It's not so bad if you just read it for fun, though. The souls of those who died suddenly by suicide or accident don't realize they're dead. Sometimes they stay put and haunt that particular place. These spirits have lost their human senses and memories and can only keep replaying the pain and sadness of the moment they died. The pain can get so bad that they turn to humans for salvation, or they begrudge humans their lives. At such times, they can possess humans. Places known as famous suicide spots or high accident areas are often to blame. You should be careful when approaching such locations, especially on the day or at the time the death occurred. That is, if you don't want it to happen to you too. So we have the Nothing Little Occult magazine, as she puts it, talking about, essentially haunted places where there's been a lot of suicides or a lot of accidents, and how they tend to be more prime for these spirits, and that they have the ability to, begrudge humans their lives. And this actually gives you a little extra sequence where once you read that newspaper about the accident victim, the person who either committed suicide or accidentally fell onto the train tracks and died, and then the occult magazine mentioning, spirits in high accident and suicide places, once you continue walking on the path, you get this scene. So that spirit begrudging Heather her life. And if you stay on the tracks, that train will actually come by and hit you if you stay there for too long. But as long as you climb up in time, the train never actually comes. If the train hits you, it looks exactly like it did when I got onto the train tracks earlier to try and go around the locked door. Some extra healing stuff here. But it's really bizarre because they go through all of this, all the subway, all this area to explore, and they really sort of emphasize, like, the tracks are dangerous. Don't jump down onto the tracks. Between the ghost pushing you on there and dying, trying to jump on there and circumvent doors and go across, you can see the other platform across the way. Like, any attempt you really make to try and get onto the tracks or get around something by using the tracks, it'll almost always result in Heather getting hit by a train and dying. So it's very interesting that the game does force you, in order to progress, to jump down onto the tracks at one point. Let's take a look at the other side here. Did I miss Borley's Haunted Mansion? We're not anywhere close to that. We're not even in Silent Hill yet. We're still at the subway at the very beginning of the game. Basically, part 1 was like 4 to 5 hours of just talking about the beginning in the mall. We still got a long ways to go. We're probably not even going to get to Borley's Haunted Mansion tonight. I like how there's even dogs down, like, on the tracks. Door's locked. We can't go that way. We still need to go pick up the shotgun again since I died. I don't want to forget that. We can do the payphone thing again. You gotta really get like right up to it to even trigger that. One of those things that potentially a lot of people would probably play their first time and not hear that, not explore next to those phones and not hear that ring, but then in a follow-up playthrough might get close enough to trigger it and be like, what the fuck? Excuse me. Just need to go get caught back up to where we were when I got hit by the train. When speedrunning this game comes in handy. Even for story playthroughs, just for catching up to things again. I mean, I'm on an emulator. The smart thing would have been to just make a save state. But it's fine. Hey, Christophonics. Welcome. Hope you're doing well tonight. So yeah, after going through all of that, the ghost pushing you onto the tracks and everything in the game sort of trying to teach you getting on the train tracks is bad. Getting on the train tracks means death. Then you get to this part. You have this very distinct camera angle focusing on this, like, highlighted, glowing red door that you do need to go and try. In order to progress here, you have to try and open that door. And it's such a troll. Like, on top of the game sort of teaching you, like, train tracks equal death, now is one of the few times where you can jump down onto the tracks and walk around and you don't have a train, like, immediately come and hit you. And then once you do examine the door does not work. The lock is broken. And it spawns in all these dogs to come and attack you. And the train is coming now. And if you sit there and try and fight the dogs, or even if the dogs just attack you enough to delay you from getting back up onto the platform, like it only gives you a few seconds, then that train will come and hit you and kill you. But you get a good near-death experience there. I love the way that the start of the cutscene, when the train is going to hit you and kill you, versus the start of the cutscene when Heather safely makes it back onto the platform, it starts off exactly the same way. So presumably, if you're playing this for the first time, you've probably already died to the train at least once or twice by the time you get to this point. So you kind of have that moment. You kind of have that moment of, oh shit, here's the cutscene where the train hits me. I fucked up. I died. But then at the last second, you see the camera switches and you see Heather up on the platform. You wanted to see the train death? Then go back like 20 minutes in the VOD when I purposefully died to getting hit by the train. We did that. You just missed it, apparently. There's a VR chat world, which is inside of a subway train. One of the Silent Hill games, very atmospheric. Nice. I would imagine probably this one. You don't really get like go inside of too many other subway trains, like the actual cars. Did the ghost push you? Yeah, we showed that too. Could be 3 or 4. 4 has like a little segment where you're going in and out of cars. It's at the very beginning when you're like escorting Cynthia. And I guess you escort Eileen through that section later on as well. And the car where you need to get the train handle. So train pulls up, we find a way into it. It locks Heather in as soon as she's in. And now we're riding along. We're going somewhere. It is the train that she normally takes. It's the Bergen Street, Bergen Street line. So this is technically the train she wants to be on. There's a newspaper on the seat. Same old boring articles. Just looking at all the little details and things in here. Of course, we've got another Halo of the Sun. Bloody looking Halo of the Sun. That symbol's drawn on the floor. Hope I don't get cursed just by stepping on it. See, at this point, she keeps seeing it and she's equating it to sort of the nightmare things that she's experiencing. And she's viewing it as like a curse. Even though that's not really what it is. We'll get more information about the Halo of the Sun, what it means, what it represents. This game actually has notes that explain the symbol, unlike the Seal of Metatron and like Silent Hill 1, where you have to really piece together what it is and what it's doing yourself. Later on, this game, it gives a full-on note in the church at the very end of the game explaining it, so we'll talk about the symbols and stuff more then. But for now, she's looking at it and seeing it as like a bad thing, as a curse. And before we move forward through the train car, a lot of people might not realize you can go back. So you can go out the back door onto the back of the train car. And if you do choose to move forward and drop off of this, you get a scene. It's like, can't just jump off. Can't just jump off to escape the ghost train. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize you can even go to the back of the train, let alone jump off of it for a unique little death scene. And to make it even creepier, so last time just now, we went out the back of the train this way. This time, let's go forward. And now that we've gone forward again, let's go back into the car that we were just in. And suddenly, this is now the back of the train. So every time you move forward in this train, the previous cart that you were in is gone. It just vanishes. What's that monster called again? These are the numb bodies. Same thing as before. Move forward. Try to go back out. This is now the back of the train. Another car just vanishes. I love just the atmosphere when you're on the subway. You have sort of the pillars and things moving to, and the shaking camera to kind of give the sensation of everything moving. The lights sort of cascading as you go. Just great lighting, great atmosphere, sound design. Don't suppose you can exit a side door? Nah. It doesn't even give you any text or anything. Because these are doors that, like, you typically don't, oh, newspaper on the floor. Like, you wouldn't normally interact with. You know, the subway would automatically open whenever you're at a stop or something. But it's not something you would normally, like, push open yourself. There's a magazine here. It's worthless to me. Useless. Some more graffiti here. Some of the graffiti that you can actually read. The bad artist is what it says. Wonder who the bad artist is. Might be another clue as to the source of the graffiti textures and stuff that they use. And here's a large numb body. You can see the numb bodies come in various different sizes. One of those simple things that I always thought was neat, just taking an enemy and having it a little different size. So we find like numb bodies that are bigger than others. Later on we'll find pendulums that are smaller than the typical ones that we've seen up to this point. And I think those are the only two enemies where we get like varying sizes of them. Do they come in different colors? Sadly, no. Slurpers do, though. Slurpers might not come in different sizes, but there are a lot of different colors of slurpers, and their color actually kind of denotes their behavior. You have like the regular brown ones that crawl around on the ground. You have white ones that play dead and like pretend to be dead until you get close to them, and then they activate and like attack. There's some variance in that. Huh, an empty juice can. Just another piece of trash. Juice can? Like a bottle. Same old newspapers and articles. Empty juice cans. Now we have a numb body. And the way they position the numb body, they make it seem like you really just need to deal with it, because it's basically blocking, or seemingly blocking, this entire narrow subway car walkway. But you can just push past him. If you don't want to waste any supplies, he's not actually blocking you that bad. Some more good loading screen textures that we don't really see on the PC version. So the car's finally stopped. If you try and go out the back, the doors are shut tightly. I can't pull them apart either. Try and go to the front. This must be the first car. I can't see the next car through the frosted window. All I see is the track. Wait a minute. There's no place for the conductor. So how does it run? Or did the car before it already go on ahead? I didn't hear or feel it if it did. Anyway, it's obviously pointless to stay on this train any longer. Why did my controller stop working? Okay, that's weird. The controller just like straight up stopped working. I tried to examine the front car again. Okay. Give me a second. It's bizarre. It didn't like come unhooked or anything. Oh, that is not the state that I literally just made. There we go. Now it's working. The doors won't open. Besides, there's no conductor's seat beyond here. Ah, okay. That was bizarre. Yeah, even my controller's haunted. But basically what she's saying is there is no front car, like where the conductor and everything would normally be. Basically, the cars in front of the car that she was in were never really there. The same way that the cars stopped existing once we moved past them towards further ones, closer ones towards the front. Just a thoroughly unexplainable ghost train. I love it. There's some graffiti on the wall. It's so dirty, I can't read it. Never mind. What do you mean? You can very clearly read it. It says dragon. Dragon! Even more reason for me to believe this might come from some sort of a stock, like, you know, graffiti art texture pack or something. There's very similar dragon graffiti, like graffiti that says dragon, in Silent Hill 2. So either it's something that one of the artists on the team came up with and used as like a little recurring theme, or more likely they pulled a bunch of graffiti from some sort of texture pack or source, even just photographs. That old pattern's painted in here among the graffiti. It looks like it was just put here too. But by whom? And why does my head... Head's hurting. As her head is hurting, it's essentially her repressed memories, her life as Alessa slowly coming back to her. These things, the halo of the sun, kind of acting as these reminders, these constant reminders that are slowly kind of awakening these memories from her life as Alessa, which is, when you think about, you know, she's talking about how this particular symbol, you know, if it feels like it was just put here. And you have to imagine Claudia is essentially just one step ahead of Heather. She's not like far off. She's just a little bit ahead of where Heather is. And Claudia wants her to remember being Alessa. She thinks that if she can recover who she is as Alessa, then she will agree with Claudia's, you know, ultimate goals of like birthing this god, creating a paradise, getting rid of all suffering. And when Claudia talks about getting rid of all suffering, I mean, she means getting rid of all life in general. But she thinks that Alessa would be, you know, would be down with that plan, that she would agree with Claudia's ultimate goal. If only she could remember who she was. Oh, eventually we will learn, you know, Heather is a very different person. She might be a reincarnation of Alessa, but she's not Alessa. She has her own thoughts and feelings, and ideas that don't involve birthing a cult god and killing all of existence. There's stuff all over, but definitely nothing worth bringing along. Does Claudia do gyromancy too? I don't know. Dahlia's the only one who mentions it directly. I don't know if it's a practice used by several priestesses or people within the cult, or if that's specifically a Dahlia thing. So excited, I don't normally keep up with Silent Hill 3 lore playthroughs all the way till the end. Well, so you know, this is segmented. I did part 1 of the playthrough earlier this week. Today we're not playing all the way to the end. We're just going to play for, 4 or 5 hours. Just so you know, this stream will not be going all the way to the end of the game. It'll probably be 3 or 4 parts. Probably closer to 4. I just don't want you to be disappointed when you're like, I finally got here for a story playthrough stream and I can sit through until the end, and then we don't go all the way to the end. Not tonight, anyway. Eventually. But yeah, my health is basically in the shitter, and I can't really physically handle doing like 18-hour streams anymore to do full playthroughs from start to finish. So we're doing like 4 to 5 hour streams over the course of a week or so for story playthroughs now. Helmets? Should I take them with me? Nah, never mind. It's pretty geeky looking. Yeah, don't worry about having a little extra, protection on your head. If it's going to make you look like, a geek, why bother? There's blood seeping out of the bottom of this locker. Is there something inside? I sort of want to take a look, but the locker door won't open. It's better that way. It's not as if there's anything good in there. I'm going to leave this one alone. The side of the locker is badly bent, as if something hit it very hard. As a result, it's impossible to open. But we also find the maul here. Like a big round pointy hammer. It's super heavy, but at least it's got some oomph. It does have pretty good oomph. It's pretty slow, which is its main downside. But it's got decent range, and it does pretty good damage. One of the higher damaging melee weapons. Got an underpass map. The old bloody underpass. This whole segment between the subway and the underpass, my first time playing this game, I probably spent like 8 hours just wandering through the subways and the underpass, because they're very kind of confusing areas when you don't really know the game super well, and it's very easy to miss the map for both of them. Like, I missed the subway map on my first playthrough, and I missed this map on my first playthrough. So not having a map while you go through the subway and the underpass is just nightmare. So many areas that look very similar to each other, so it's easy to get lost. I need to stop wasting supplies, so we're just gonna avoid these boys. All the way back around here, we've got some shotgun shells. This part's kind of interesting to me because I feel like it might be an error. So we get the wine bottle. Wine in a place like this, well, I suppose it is dark and dry. Only one of the bottles is empty. Got a wine bottle. So she takes the empty one. We're ignoring the ones that still have wine in them. But then if you examine this again, you get this text. The body must have been crushed by something heavy. With that, then, God, how awful. So it's like, what body? Exactly what body is she talking about? Because there's nothing you can see. Like, there was a trash pile earlier where legs are sticking out from underneath paper and cardboard and stuff like that. And I wonder if this text was maybe supposed to be there instead of here. Or if maybe at some point this looked different, where there was a visible body, like maybe up underneath the metal, planks or whatever, these boxes and stuff back here. But it just says the body must have been crushed by something heavy. God, how awful. As though she's seeing something crushed under here. But there's definitely nothing that we can see, not from any of our angles. So I've always wondered about that. I wonder if they maybe changed something in the environment here without changing that dialogue, or if that dialogue was maybe supposed to be earlier in the subway where we find the legs of somebody sticking out from under a bunch of stuff. Hey, Jumbletuff. Numbers in the Excel sheet got mixed up in translation. I mean, it could be. It could be a translation issue. It could be just where they changed some visual aspect of the game and forgot to change the text. It could be text appearing in the incorrect spot. Either way, it just a little bit weird. I love the ambient sounds here. It's like howling almost in the background. You get those kind of sounds, like yelps and a lot of creepy noises in the underpass. I love it. Nope, nothing interesting here. There's stuff all over, but definitely nothing worth bringing along. Looks broken. Not going that way. Go through the tiny door, Heather. It's so weird how cozy I feel these games are, considering the creepy Foley they use. It's true. Like, the Silent Hill games, they do have a weird sort of comfiness to them. Especially after you're super familiar with them. It's very different from how I felt about these games when I first played them, though. Like, I think a lot of that just has to do with a lot of different factors in your life. Because you say you don't really consume horror for the fear, though. When I was younger, I did. I liked playing a game just for, the scary parts. I liked being scared. I liked horror and scary stuff. And as I got older, like, the same things don't really scare you anymore. So you get to a point where everything that you see in a horror game is something that you've kind of already seen before, and it's not really so much about the horror, but that's when for me, that's when I got to the point of sort of really appreciating the art and the sound and all of the things that go into making these atmospheres and these creepy moments, these elements of tension, like how all that's built. Once you get past it just sort of scaring you, you can really appreciate like kind of the beauty in it, how much effort goes into making something scary. And that's an element of horror that I've always really loved. There is sort of an underlying artistry and beauty to it. The locker is filled with junk. No, it's not junk. It looks like somebody's stuff. This is the kind of like text. It's just flash text where any other, even within the Silent Hill series, like a lot of other games, you wouldn't be able to examine this locker at all. Or if you were able to examine it, you would just get, there's nothing useful here, like something very basic. Silent Hill 3, we get this extra dialogue, she's like, it's just some junk in a locker, and then corrects herself. No, it's not junk. It looks like somebody's stuff. The fact that Heather, still even through all of this crazy nightmare shit, has kind of the self-awareness of like, yeah, maybe this is junk to me. It's not something that I can use, but that doesn't mean that it's just junk. Like, there's stuff in here that belongs to somebody, or did belong to somebody at some point. And I like that she kind of keeps that self-awareness. It doesn't just turn into, survival horror. Is this useful to me or is it not? Because that's the way a lot of survival horror handles it. When you examine stuff in the environment, it's just going to tell you, like, is this something you can use or is it not? But nope, Silent Hill 3, we get lots of insight into Heather's character and mindset and things just by examining stuff in the environment. There's some kerosene left in the heater, looks like. If I had some sort of container, I could take it with me. So luckily we did pick up a container. We have an empty wine bottle. This bottle was dropped at a corner of the underground passage. And this is a very subtle change, but the icon in the menu actually changes, in case you've never noticed. So look at the way the wine bottle looks now, where it's that very light green, sort of empty looking bottle. When you actually use it here and put the kerosene in it and get the oil filled bottle, look, the icon actually changes and you can see the dark oil, like kerosene, inside of it. This is for moving kerosene to and from a space heater. Of course, I can't drink it. Chug it. But yeah, one of those little details, like the oil-filled bottle having a slightly different icon where you can see the liquid inside of it. I played this game a ton before I ever realized, like, that icon visually changes. Like, I just didn't pay that much attention to it. And the moment that I realized it was when I was doing research for this game, and I pulled all the textures for all the icons. Every item, in the game has like a texture or a picture, an icon for how it's going to look in your inventory. So I pulled a texture file that had all the icons on it, just for my own research, just to have all those assets and stuff that I could look at. And I noticed, like, why is there multiple wine bottles, for example? So it wasn't until I was doing research outside of this game that I even realized that, little details like the bottle changing when you put oil in it. What kind of machine is this? It looks like it doesn't work anymore. Looks like a hoist on off switch. Throw the switch, nothing happened. Wonder if it's broken. There's a hoist here, but how do I get it to work? This might be the fuel tank. There's nothing in it though. Before we put fuel in there, the hole's full of dirty water. I can't go down there like that. And it's pretty gross looking doo-doo water. That is some sewer water. Put the kerosene in the fuel tank. Now we can actually flip the switch. And I've always I've always had a little bit of a problem with this cutscene. So before I flip this, just to explain like what's going on, you can see there's a hoist here that's going to start rotating, and that's going to pull that cable and start wrapping that cable around. And you can see the cable just goes down somewhere behind this machine. We can't really see where it goes or what it's attached to or anything like that. And we know what we're trying to do. We're trying to drain the water so that we can go down this ladder. So we have all these elements, like we know what we're trying to do and how it's supposed to happen. But then when you actually flip the switch, look at this cutscene. We get a close-up of the fuel. We see the hoist, like the pulley itself. And this is basically that's it. That's the whole cutscene. We just see this rotating. And it doesn't really convey like what you just did, like what the machine just did very well. But you go and examine it again. Thanks to that thing, all the water is finally drained out of the hole. It looks like I'll be able to get down there now. If I can stand the smell, that is. And then once you get down here, you can actually see what the machine did, what the pulley did. So there is the pulley cord leading all the way up to where the machine was. And you can see it's attached to this sort of like wooden door that when it's pulled up by the hoist, it opens up to these metal drains, these grates that allows all the water to drain out. So that's why all the water is able to drain out from here and we're able to climb down. It's just so weird to me that they don't show any of this in the cutscene of the pulley actually working. You would think that they would show like a shot from down here of the water draining out. Or you would think that there's a shot of the wooden door being pulled up. You know, you'd think they would show more than just a close-up of the pulley and not really explain what it's doing. Just feel like that could have been conveyed more clearly. God, the wet, nasty footstep sounds down here. I love how we start getting some of these camera angles as well. A little bit of a foreshadowing. Because eventually we do cross one of these bridges where we get a similar camera angle. And right now, we don't see that, you know, there's nothing down there. But later there will be. One of the next bridges we cross will have something. Again, just the sort of nasty underpass sewer kind of atmosphere, the echoing drip sounds and everything. Oh. We got a large numbody. Back demon. Hey, Silent Hill X Resident Evil. Last time you were on Twitch was October 2022. And here to watch. Well, welcome back. See that sick hover jump that Heather just did? There's a lot of weird stuff you can get with these little drop animations and fall animations. In fact, let's see if we can get this glitch. You can actually get a glitch here known as the quick glitch, or the zip glitch rather. It can be kind of hard to set up. But essentially, if you jump off in the right spot and you're holding the strafe button while you climb back up, it will zip Heather all the way down to the other end of this subway. Or sewer. We'll just move on. Because it can be kind of a particular trick. I'm a lot more used to doing it on PC. I'm not even sure if it works the same way on PS2, but essentially if you do that glitch correctly, it teleports you from that end of the sewer all the way to like right here. It'll just teleport you and you'll suddenly be standing like right here, which is conveniently past that large numbody and right in front of the door that you need to go through. So it's very specific in where it's useful. So like it's not used in a lot of speedruns and stuff, but there are particular speedrun categories where it can save time. So here we get our, we're crossing another one of these metal sort of bridges. We get this distinct panned back camera view. And this time there is something down there in the water. You can see a slurper. One of the enemies that we'll be encountering a little bit later. We haven't actually seen up until this point. Hey, Burb. Nub, I always watch your videos on YouTube because timing is awful on my part. Thanks for the radio silence and even giving me info on one of my favorite series. Thanks again. Yeah, no problem. Glad you enjoy it. You enjoy watching my videos on YouTube. Now you are in one of my videos that will eventually be on YouTube. But yeah, glad you enjoy what I do. Thank you. I'm just wasting my time looking around here. I'd better get going. Even so, it really stinks. It's going straight from my nose to my head. Now that's a lot of garbage. Where the hell did it all come from? I guess this is all the stuff that gets tossed out into the sewers. There's nothing that looks useful in the cardboard box. There's a deodorant inside, but it would probably be a waste of energy. Heather does not wear deodorant. Confirmed. Confirmed. A wheelchair? Why would a wheelchair be thrown out here? So, again, wheelchairs, very common theme throughout Silent Hill as a series, but it's important to always remember, like, the symbolism, the theme of the wheelchair from the very beginning was a reference to Alessa. Alessa, after her burns, was, wounded so severely that she was basically always in a hospital bed, except for when they had to move her to a different room in Alchemilla, or when Dahlia moves Alessa for the birth of the god at the end of Silent Hill 1. And in those times where Alessa would be moved, she's in a wheelchair. We see Alessa sitting in a wheelchair, wrapped in bandages and a cloak at the end of Silent Hill 1. So that's why we start seeing the wheelchair as like a recurring thing with Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 3, that callback to Alessa. After that, it just kind of becomes like a trope of the series. It's just something like the steel pipe, where you can't have a Silent Hill game without a steel pipe or a flashlight or a radio and wheelchairs. It just kind of became one of those things where wheelchair equals spooky, so they would just put it in the games. But it did have a very distinct, specific meaning with Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 3. Hell, in Silent Hill 4, it's a straight up enemy. You just have ghost wheelchairs, possessed wheelchairs attacking you. It's a broken clock. This is from the sewer too. Heather Stanky. I mean, she feels like deodorant is a waste of energy, so can only imagine. Imagine the smell, chat. Butthurt about the smell of the sewer, but doesn't want a deodorant. That's okay. We've got a hair dryer, so we can at least, take care of our hair. Dryer. I found it in a sort of garbage dump. Still looks usable, though. And just to follow up that little foreshadowing with the slurper that we can see in the water when we first cross, now that we're going back across, it's gone. A little creepy thing there. Nub, have you ever done the pipe exploit in the sewers? What do you mean, exploit? Are you talking about the pipe fairy? Because I've definitely done that, but it's New Game Plus only. We're doing a New Game playthrough. But exploit? Do you mean something different? More creepy ambient sounds if you kind of wander over here. All these groans and yowls and all sorts of weird kind of animal noises. Health drink. There's something written on the notebook. Here's the Silent Hill spin-off game that we truly all need. There's a monster in the water. The bastards killed 2 of my buddies. I should never have doubted that old urban legend about alligators in the sewers. That was no myth. But no one believes me. They were drunk and slipped. We're not that damn stupid. Even calling it a monster isn't quite right. This is something else. All I know is something's in there. I'm going in now to beat that thing's head in. If you find this note, consider it my will. Revenge is futile, or so you may think, reading this. But Jose and Jaime were my best buddies. Wish I knew how to do the deed. Guns won't work underwater. Even my famous knife work won't do much. If only I had a hand grenade. So this is just like a diary, a notebook left behind by sewer workers, people who are here, working in the sewers, talking about there being a monster in the water. It's already killed, several other people. But this person leaving the note behind, the way they're talking about it, he's going to just go into the water and beat this thing's head in. He can't use guns. His famous knife work has, this guy, nameless person, and their famous knife work. They're talking about if only they had a hand grenade, they could do something. It's like, who is this fucking action hero who presumably just got killed by a tentacle monster? Where's this guy's spin-off game? The drawer is open, but it's only filled with boring documents. Nothing interesting. Is this a security monitor? I can't see anything. It must be broken. Resident Evil reference? Or does the timeline line up? The Silent Hill and Resident Evil are in the same universe timeline? What timeline? It could very well be a Resident Evil reference. Resident Evil is older than Silent Hill, by the way, Cake or Death, if that's what you mean. Like, by the time Silent Hill 1 came out, that was 1999. Like, Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 were already out. So Silent Hill 3 came out in 2003. So by this point, there was already Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, Code Veronica. There was still a lot. There was a lot already. I'm assuming that's what you mean by timeline. Danger. Keep out. This was probably pasted on that door there. I can see where it fell off. And you can actually see the color difference for the texture of the door where the danger keep out sign was posted. How good would a Silent Hill and Resident Evil crossover be? Yeah, that just play Dead by Daylight. Answer that question. There's an outlet here. Alright. I definitely saved in here, right? I'm going to save again. I'm sure I saved. I'm saving again, because we're going to show off some deaths. So first of all, I love just the setup of this. You've got this murky water. You can see the metal bars and stuff that would normally segment this place off from kind of the rest of the sewers. You can see where they're bent. Like something came through, like bent its way through those bars to get into this area here. You don't really see anything in the water just yet. You see the blood first, just everywhere on the door, leading towards the edge of the platform into the water, on the other side of the bridge, towards that door. You just tell there's like something horrible. And we've got a few different interesting deaths to show. First, let's try walking across. So if you just try and walk forward. It's pretty horrifying. Just Heather's screaming, the camera angle, seeing the tentacle come up and grab the leg. It goes underwater where you're just seeing the bubbles. You know, all these elements to it. It's such a creepy death scene. And again, another Silent Hill 1 parallel. Similar to the tentacle creature that kills Harry Mason if you try and open up the fridge and take the ceremonial dagger. In Silent Hill 1, you have to get that dagger of Melchior that's stuck into the fridge. And if you don't use the ring of contract to complete the chain that's on the fridge and try to walk away with the knife, tentacles come out of the fridge, grab Harry by the leg, and drag him in for like an instant death sequence. Very similar to this. So they kind of parallel that here. Rebar is the word you're looking for? Hey, Juiciest Kisses. Isn't rebar specifically the metal bars that is used to reinforce like concrete? Not like steel bars like this, where they're, you know, it's like a gate. Not really a gate, but this is different from rebar. Rebar is like a very specific reinforcement thing that's usually inside of another material. So we saw the tentacle death. Let's also do some just falling into the water deaths. First off, like, you can see all of the these animations where Heather's trying to keep her balance when she's sort of like teetering on the edge. When you go forward. When you go backwards. And when we actually fall in. As much as I love this game, all the amazing detail and animations and stuff that there are, I love that when you fall to death like that, there's no animation or anything really. She just sort of planks. Love it. There's, if you fall forward instead of backwards. But okay. Some interesting, unique death scenes and stuff that we can get here. But now let's actually cross. So we know the tentacle monster's in there. The dryer just needs to be plugged into the outlet and thrown into the water. And it's dead. You can see the tentacle just sort of like floating in the water as well. It looks like it became detached because it actually like floats for a second there. You see it move with the water and get stuck up against the bars while the water continues draining out. Interesting little detail there. Okay, so I have to point this out. Technically, this would not work. Isn't there too much water? Like there's too much surface But there's also chemicals and things. This is like sewer water, so it's not just, I don't know. I don't know how conductive this particular thing would be. This is not New Game Plus. So we don't get the pipe fairy extras. That's extra New Game only. Some complicated machine here. It's not on or anything. I'll leave it alone. The drum is in the way. There's something inside. I doubt I can move it. Oh my god, you guys, rebar. This is rebar. Since we were having the rebar discussion. There's rebar. It's the metal bars that's like inside reinforcing the concrete. God, I hate pendulums. They're loud. They're annoying. When you attack them, they just like straight up rush you. Who does it better, Resident Evil or Silent Hill, of opening and closing door animation and sound? I would give that to Resident Evil, because Resident Evil makes like a whole, they make the whole loading screen like an animation. Instead of just examining the door and like we get a fade out to black and then fade back in on the other side of the door, Resident Evil, you usually have that like loading screen where it shows the door and you sort of see the camera take a step towards it, and then the door actually opening, and that first person perspective camera going through the door, and then we fade back in to the gameplay on the other side. So probably a more serious answer than you were actually looking for, but yeah, when we're comparing going through doors between Silent Hill and Resident Evil, I think Resident Evil did it better. I can't get in. There's an iron grate blocking the way. Stuff all over, nothing worth bringing along. Nothing in the drum can. Well, forget about that. And we're finally out of the sewers, out of the underpass. If you try and crawl back down the ladder, I don't want to crawl back into there. I think I'll go a different way. Wooden crate is shut pretty tight. Don't think I can get it open. I love how something relatively simple, it's just these really tall, like, tarp covered walls, but it makes you feel like so trapped in here. We're on the construction site. It's basically a building that's under construction. Hence why it's all blocked off like this. Are the tarp-covered walls a real thing when building a new building? Yeah, because they don't want people, getting too close to where demolition could be happening and people could be working. So this is like a real thing. They'll block off areas around a building when major construction and stuff is happening. But just the way that it's used in this game to kind of confine you into a particular place. There are paint cans in the box. I guess you'd use it on walls. I don't need it, that's for sure. The electricity is off. The elevator won't work. There's a can of adhesive here that doesn't seem too special. There are bags of cement or something piled up under the stairs. I don't particularly feel like lugging these heavy things around. I doubt I could use them anyway. Now we've just got to go all the way up. Hope the next Silent Hill games have a ton of references and for other games and Easter eggs, hopefully. And Yami says, I don't. Maybe a subtle nod here and there, but the look guys were just like the other games. Yeah, it depends on how far they take it. Like, I like subtle little references and things that are kind of like out of the way. But if it's a very blatant, like, hey look, we're referencing a game that's better than this one. That's one of those things that always bothered me, Like there's a certain limit to it. Obviously Silent Hill 3 has a lot of Easter eggs and references to Silent Hill 1 because it's a direct sequel. Then you have the like Easter eggs to Silent Hill 2, where if you've got your completed save file on the same memory card, you get a couple little references to Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3. That kind of stuff I'm fine with. When you have like Silent Hill Downpour, where you can just straight up go into the room 302 from Silent Hill 4, that is where it like goes too far for me. Like that's too much. Especially for something like room 302, which is not even in Silent Hill. It's in South Ashfield. Great audio here. This is like it's such just a random little thumping sound that they use just for this one little camera angle when you walk into this bathroom. But the audio mixing on it always makes it sound like, especially if you have headphones on, it sounds like somebody thumping like in a room next to you or above you. Like really good audio mixing on that. The Suffering did Easter eggs okay? Thoughts? ? It's been so long since I've played The Suffering. I couldn't even accurately tell you what was an Easter egg and what wasn't. I mean, lots of games can do Easter eggs and references to other games in the series and stuff in their own ways. For Silent Hill specifically, I feel like that's, it's fine up to a certain point. But like I said, it goes too far when you start putting like room 302 in Downpour. Things like that. Small little Easter eggs and references, if for people who are really going out of their way and exploring and looking at stuff, is one thing. There's a little home made up of cardboard boxes and old blankets. I guess a squatter was living here. Empty bottles and cans. Looks like someone was living here. We can see some reused assets from Silent Hill 2 here. The boxes on the ground are the box of cookies and the butter cake boxes. We see those originally in Silent Hill 2 being reused here for Silent Hill 3. You might think I'm, going out of my way to point out these like reused assets like butter cake and stuff like that, but when you get to like Silent Hill Book of Memories, they straight up use a box of butter cake as one of your accessories, like one of the trinkets that you can get is a box of butter cake. So apparently it's recognizable enough to the people who made Book of Memories to make a whole thing about it, make an item. The wall color looks a little different here, and the material is different too. It might break if it's hit hard enough. And it will actually take more hits if you try and break it with a weaker weapon like the knife or the pipe. Yeah, so I gotta talk about this. So this is where you get the silencer in Silent Hill 3, which is an interesting little item. You can essentially equip it to your pistol. I think you can also equip it to the SMG, and it will make the shots quieter, like they don't attract as much attention from enemies, but they also do less damage. So yeah, it's already coming up in chat, but there is famously the Brady Games Guide for Silent Hill 3, which, is written by Dan Burlew, somebody who had nothing to do with the development of any of the Silent Hill games. He just writes strategy guides. And a lot of times misinformation winds up spreading through those kind of guides when you have somebody who's not involved with the game writing a guide for it. So it was like misinformation, false knowledge for a long time that this is supposedly a reference to Metal Gear Solid, just because Dan Burlew wrote that in the Brady Games strategy guide for Silent Hill 3. So basically, he tried to say that because you have this wall with different colored plaster, it's similar to the bombable walls in Metal Gear Solid, where you have to figure out where you can blow up the wall and go through it based on the color of the plaster and the sound of it when you knock on it. And this is where you get the silencer, and we see this pair of legs, behind the wall where we find the silencer. And for some reason, Dan Burlew wrote in the strategy guide that this is, a reference to Metal Gear Solid, because, Metal Gear Solid invented the silencer. It's not like a real world thing. It was made up specifically for Metal Gear Solid, right? So clearly it's a reference. They also invented, patching up walls. I don't know. It's such a weird thing. And it's implied in the strategy guide that Dan Burlew's like, oh, you can even see legs behind the wall. Maybe these are the legs of Solid Snake. It's like, yeah, Solid Snake in his trademark yellow pants. You know how he always goes on those stealth sneaking missions in his bright yellow pants? Clearly a Metal Gear Solid reference. Don't understand, Dan Burlew, why you would write this in your strategy guide. It's very clearly not a Metal Gear Solid reference in any way. And in fact, if you examine it again after picking up the silencer, she tells you what this is a reference to. I can see legs through the broken part of the wall. I hope those are just mannequin legs, but I guess I'm not that lucky. Just like the black cat. I wish I hadn't seen that. So she's referencing The Black Cat, which is an old Edgar Allan Poe that was remade into movies and stuff like that. I think Vincent Price in one version of it, but you just have to examine it. And it straight up tells you what this is a reference to. The Black Cat. An old Edgar Allan Poe story. So, I don't know why Dan Burlew wrote the Metal Gear Solid thing in the strategy guide. It's clearly not a reference to MGS. But a lot of people mistakenly thought it was for a long time just because of that strategy guide. I can't see the 4th level floor. It's too dangerous to jump down from here. Ugh, a filthy mattress. Will you drop it into the hole? See, this looks a lot like the dirty mattress that Maria lays on in Silent Hill 2. Once you get to Brookhaven. I dropped in the mattress to use as a cushion. I should have no problems jumping down now. I love the music here. Sort of like echoing drum beat. Boom, 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 boom. This is the mattress I threw down before. I don't need that anymore. I can just lay down and take a nap on it. Some rubble from the broken ceiling. It could be dangerous if I'm not careful. God, they're so creepy when they move fast. I mean, they're creepy no matter what, but something about them when they like zoom towards you. Super unsettling. See what I mean with these things, though? They're so annoying. Every attack, they just kind of zoom around where you can't really get more than a single hit on them. Once they're on top of you, they're hitting you so often you just can't even get like a melee swing. Such a just thoroughly annoying enemy. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the visual of it, the design of it, but mechanically having to fight it. They're one of the most annoying enemies. At least in my opinion. Can you jump off there? You can't from the very end. You can jump off the side where I actually killed the pendulums. Also, if you go in here and then go back, those pendulums respawn. But yeah, you can't like jump off here. But on the other end where the pendulums were, you can fall and die there. But yeah, you can continuously just go in and out of this window and keep respawning those pendulums. If you're ever trying to unlock the Princess Heart, or rather the Heather Beam or Sexy Beam weapons, or if you're doing 10-star runs and you're trying to farm some kills, those pendulums you can constantly respawn as a way to farm kills. Thermal Carafe, there's nothing inside. The tabletop is covered with papers. I don't see any info that might come in handy, though. It's a mannequin catalog. I guess this is the reception area for a mannequin company. Who wants creepy mannequins? Although they don't do very much with the mannequins in this game, it's mostly just to set up one scare room, as opposed to like Silent Hill 2 where you've got mannequin enemies all the way throughout the game. So we come back here into storage room 2, and this is pretty much the whole setup for the mannequins. The cardboard box is filled with arms and legs for mannequins. Here's a mannequin with no head or legs. I know it's just an inanimate object, but I'm still a little nervous. Afraid, maybe. This is the only mannequin with a head. There's something weird about the headless ones. Like they can still see me or something. Ugh. Ugh. Mannequin with no head or legs. So you examine these. You notice the one mannequin that's sort of centered and still has a head compared to all the others. Hey, we got the alternate scream. This box is filled with mannequin heads. I think I'll pass on this one. So there's 2 different screams that you can potentially hear whenever this happens. This is blood. So once you walk away from it, you have the head fall off. There's blood everywhere. And yeah, there's actually 2 different variations of screams that you'll hear. There is a scream that is Heather. You can very clearly tell that it's like the Heather scream, where it's Heather Morris doing the voice for it. And then there's this scream that's higher pitched. And I think that's a different voice actress. I think that might be one of the voice actresses that did some noises and things for the nurses. Yeah, which scream you get whenever you examine the mannequin is random. Is that one less common? Don't think I've ever heard it before. Almost every time you get the Heather scream. I'm not sure what affects getting the higher pitched scream, but yeah, it's definitely less common. At least whenever I do playthroughs. Now, I don't know if that might change from version to version. For example, whenever, like, I typically play the PC version a lot, so I'm more used to the Heather scream happening. Maybe that's more common on PC, and then on PS2. Which one you get is changed a little bit since we're playing PS2 version today, so it could have to do with the version, but in any version of the game, there's multiple screens that can potentially happen. Except for HD Collection. HD Collection, there's only one screen. The one that they re-recorded specifically for HD. Lock's broken. Prindle and Enos, law firm. Monica's Dance Studio. Looks like some kind of poster. Or it's some kind of poster. Looks like there will be a performance soon. Yeah, I don't know if that performance is still going to be happening. We are in sort of a crazy nightmare world. Hey Ray, I have not seen the menu yet. Heard pretty good things about it though. There's nothing of interest in the locker. Some health drinks. Nothing of interest. There are photos hung here. Maybe the locker owner's lover. Only we could get a really good close shot of that. Some of these photos. But you can see there is just sort of like a person in a photograph there, as well as a note. Stuff, little details in the environment that we can't really examine super close or anything. There are some magazines here, but nothing really important. One of them I've already read, and the other one just doesn't interest me. Just a calendar, nothing interesting written on it. You zoomed in while on Twitch, we can zoom in more. Is that a function? Can you zoom in on Twitch? Even more than I'm zooming in the game? Although I will say, this is probably one of my favorite features of Silent Hill 3 that I wish was in all of the Silent Hill games. The ability to zoom in your camera and look around at stuff. God, I wish that was a thing in every Silent Hill game. It lets you look at so many details and so many things in the environment so much easier. And it's like, it's only used in Silent Hill 3. And they never give you the option in any other Silent Hill game to like zoom in and freely look around with your camera. The desk is all cluttered up. Doesn't look like there's anything I'm interested in. The drawer's open just a smidge. It must be rusted or something. I can't pull it out any further. It's fine. We'll come back to it when we have something that can pry open the drawer. Because for some reason, your knife, pipe, silencer, like there's a bunch of things we have that we could potentially use to pry this open, but no. Very specifically, we can't use any of those things. Hilltop Center. So here's our map for the office building. Let's go to Monica's dance studio. Dogs don't dance. Get out of here. Well, this is Monica's dance studio. You must be Monica. You look different than on the poster. Now we start seeing more of the insane cancer enemies that we first saw in the subway. Basically just these huge, swollen, walking tumors, almost. I mean, that's literally what it's called, the insane cancer. And if you think about what a cancer is, this sort of growth inside of the body, and you think about this god that is growing inside of Heather as well, you can kind of understand the symbolism of it. They've got a lot of interesting animations, like laying on the ground. You can see after a while it sits back down. This one I always thought was kind of strange, just because it doesn't like... It behaves very strangely compared to the other ones. Like, it's not as directly aggressive towards you. Until it starts doing that. Wonderful enemy design. The elevator doors are open a little. The space is too narrow to be of any use, though. So now we can see we're on the 3rd floor of this office building. Take a look around and explore a bit. Can't go into any of these other floors. Plenty of stuff behind the stairs, but it's all junk. And nothing we can do down here. So we just need to go up. Fifth floor is where we need to go, but let's keep going up. Just to verify, nothing else on the 6th floor. Hey, Hillicus. Silent Hill has a great trilogy. I don't know if you can really call Silent Hill a trilogy. I mean, a lot of people really only consider 1 through 3 as being like the main games, but I feel like that's unfair to Silent Hill 4. Silent Hill 4 is an excellent game, and it's still a lot of the main Team Silent devs working on it, you know? It's a poster advertisement for a dance studio. Who cares about that right now? Is Heather almost home? Almost. We still have quite a bit to go through and look at, though. This is the last area before you get to her apartments, but we're in kind of like the regular world version of it right now. We still need to do the other world version of this area. And then we'll be heading to Heather's apartment. KMN Auto Parts. Door is locked. Gallery of Fine Arts. Can't wait for her to get home. Her father must be worried. Yeah, about that. About that. Its title is Repressor of Memories. What the hell kind of title is that? I don't get this picture at all. Little fun reference there. I mean, Heather doesn't get it. She doesn't understand the painting titled Repressor of Memories when she herself is sort of dealing with repressed memories from her life as Alessa. That's a major part of the game, is her getting her memory back from her past lives. There's a guest registration notebook on the reception desk. I think I can ignore it for now. A ceramic pot. Not really my style. It's too big to use as a vase. Now this is a calm, relaxing picture. Mountain. Nice and simple. There's a price written here. Let's see. 5,000. 5 whole thousand? Man, what a world. Dollars? Yen? Rubles? 5,000 what? Looks like there was a picture here before. Only the caption's still around. Flame purifies all. Flame, eh? Well, I don't know what kind of picture used to be here, but I'm not too fond of fire. It's scary somehow. So, just enough like we just had the Repressor of Memories, where, you know, reference to Heather literally having repressed memories, and we see one of those repressed memories sort of in action here, where she comments on the Flame Purifies All title for this painting, saying that she doesn't like flame, that fire scares her. And obviously her past life as Alessa being horribly burned, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense why she would have that feeling. Got a screwdriver, the one necessary thing we can actually pry open the desk drawer with. There are a bunch of paintings here. I don't know much about art, but I don't think these will be of any use. Katana. Easily one of the best melee weapons in the game. Katana. This is a short katana, about 2 foot long. Pretty powerful and easy to handle. It's technically not a katana. It'd be more of a wakizashi if it's 2 feet long. But still. It's a katana, but I don't need another one of those. I think one is plenty. Too much stuff will just slow me down. Even the stand for the katana there, you can see is like, You have a proper katana on top, and then the smaller wakizashi underneath. A lot of katanas will come in sets of 2 or 3 with like a katana, a wakizashi, and a tanto. I know, she's already got so many things in her inventory, but 2 katanas, that's just too much. That's just excessive. Atmosphere in this game is still amazing 20 years later. Oh, absolutely. Nothing to help her open a drawer? No, we already got the screwdriver. I specifically said. That's what it's for. This flathead screwdriver was in a corner of the hallway. Totally ordinary. Tiny room with an insane cancer. Troll rooms. This game kind of does a lot of troll rooms where there's like these rooms that have just enemies in them. They're just kind of set up to kind of punish you a little bit for thoroughly exploring. Every once in a while, you'll just come across like a room with nothing else in it, just some enemies. A lot of times, like that, it's a small room where the enemy's like right next to the door, can potentially catch you off guard. Got a jack, oil and foil, and stuff like that. I can't use any of it. Just a bunch of serious looking papers on this desk. I don't need to take any with me. Phone doesn't work. What could be wrong with it? I mean, you yourself said when you came into the building that there's no power. Things don't seem to be working. Shouldn't be too surprising that the phone doesn't work either. You ever get a chance to use explosives in the series, like a grenade or something? I mean, there's grenades in Silent Hill Book of Memories. I think that's it. That's probably it. Would be fun, but it would be less scary if you could just blow things up. Yeah, kinda. There are cleaning goods here. There's not much I can do with them. We're not gonna clean the building. This is not our job. Unless they add this building to Power Wash Simulator. I'm kind of surprised people haven't done that. Just give me the entire town. Give me all of Silent Hill and the ability to go through and clean it with Power Wash Simulator. And we'll just play that. We'll just play that for several years, cleaning up Silent Hill. Nothing left in the drawer, but pried it open, and got the rope. This was in the drawer at the office. Looks sturdy and well used. Who was regularly using this rope? And for what? So we use the jack to pry open the elevator doors. And then we can look into the elevator. The door downstairs looks open too. No way can I get down there like this. Used the rope. Will you use the rope to get downstairs? Let's go. Pretty brave. Climbing down an elevator shaft on a rope just to get to this point. And of course, if you try and climb back up, what a bother to climb up that rope. It's no problem climbing down. Climbing back up is another story. I'm going to look around on this floor for now. That old familiar pattern is on a piece of paper stuck to the vending machine. Who the hell put it here? It's not like it's the latest fad or anything, right? Sure, it's just a fad. It's just the latest thing, people going around putting cult symbols everywhere. Sure, that's all it is. Echo. It's an ad for an interior design company. Lock's broken. Echo Interiors and Floor Fashions. The Green Ridge Mental Health Clinic. Gotta have your mental health clinic right next door to the interior design floor fashion offices. Such a weird office building, like just a weird combination of places. You have like an art gallery, an auto parts, store, this weird stuff. Mental health clinic. Is this the reception area? There are catalogs scattered around. Doesn't look like there's anything important around here. Lock broken. It's just a bed. Nobody is hiding under the covers. I like this kind of dialogue. There's a similar bit of dialogue in Silent Hill 1. When you're doing the Kaufman key portion of Silent Hill 1, and you go into Michael Kaufman's hotel room in order to get the motorcycle key. If you examine the shower curtain and the shower that's in the bathroom of Michael Kaufman's apartment or hotel room, Harry will mention, like, there's nobody here, there's nobody hiding behind the shower curtain. And with Heather, we get this, nobody's hiding under the covers. I just kind of like that. They're expecting there to be something weird and creepy in this situation, but they're pointing out that there's not. But it still shows that expectation is kind of on their mind. Got the beef jerky next to some nice dog figurines. It looks real enough to bite. They actually reuse these dogs these dog figurines, these statues in Silent Hill 4 as well. Bunch of little assets and things that they turn around and reuse, which is common, especially for games of that era. Sofa here, it's really beaten up. Cracked flower vase, is this supposed to be for sale too? Display of paper towel holders, nothing to see here. Display of towel bars. The towels hanging on them are disgustingly dirty. Boxes filled with decoration-related stuff, nothing of any use. Bathtub display. There's a dark red stain on the bottom. It's just for display. It can't really be used. Hopefully you don't need to go to the bathroom anytime soon. Not much interesting here. I guess I can just forget about it. For some reason, I like this camera angle. Just this low focused shot showing the valve for the bathtub here, and Heather turning and looking at it. Since it is, something of interest. Heather, it's a display.
I knew it.
It's being invaded by the other world, by a world of someone's nightmarish delusions come to life.
Hey, there's our boy Harold. We get our audio clip of Harry Mason from Silent Hill 1. Another one of those audio clips that's missing on the PC version.
Oh no, not again. Did she do this too?
So at this point, Heather thinks Claudia is doing all of this. She's not really aware of the god growing inside of her. She's not super aware of her past lives and her influence over all of the other world. She's just still under the assumption that Claudia is causing all of this. That's been her assumption ever since she pretty much met Claudia. I'm twisting the handle, but nothing's coming out. But it's interesting, just that reaction from Heather, how angry she's getting. Did she do this too? And you have to keep in mind, every time we have these moments where Heather seems angry or upset, any of these negative emotions that she's feeling, these are all causing the god that's inside of her to continue growing. It's feeding off of all of the negative emotion. Some handgun bullets and a creepy doll in a wheelchair. The mummy-like thing in the wheelchair is just a doll. Or is it? Something about it makes me uneasy. Why, I wonder? And why is there a wheelchair in this building? Or a doll, for that matter? There's a doll in the wheelchair. I have a bad feeling about it. And I like how we start seeing this sort of imagery. See these little mummified dolls just everywhere. There's one down there in the hole. There's this one being held by this corpse. The corpses themselves kind of somewhat resemble Pyramid Head and Valtiel. Similar white, sleeveless smock with the dark colored feet, just with the head sort of distorted and misshapen. Just the imagery of the otherworld here. The barbed wire, the chain link fence holding these lights, and the lights are like askew, like they're not even all aligned or anything. You have this one kind of off to the side. Something about these little details just really makes this place that much creepier when you kind of pay attention. The blood all over the tiles. You can see there's like something back here you can kind of try and see, but there's the sheet blocking it out. And now we have our first encounter with slurpers. One of the most annoying things in the game. Look at its design, too. It's very human-like. Obviously, it's hard to tell when it's, you know, crawling around and doing everything like this, but it's like an anteater. It's not really, though. See, we got to get a closer look. At first glance, it looks like that. So at first glance, you're like, oh, it's like this little anteater monster, you know? But look at it here. It's wearing pants. Like, it has a human torso, it has human arms, but the legs are like sewn up into stumps. The arms are sewn up into stumps. The head, look at where the lighter sort of white part of the front part of the head is. You can see this is not part of the actual head. There's like a regular human ear. You can see a human ear. So it has like a human head, but there's this mask. It almost looks like bone texture, but there's this mask that's adding the elongated shape to the face, and it even has teeth at the end of it. And the teeth themselves, it doesn't look like horse teeth, you know? Everyone's just like, it's just a horse, it's just a horse. It's not, though. If you've ever seen a horse skull, it doesn't look like this. If you ever see horse teeth at the end of a mouth like this, it doesn't look like it. It's a similar elongated snout-like shape, but that's where the similarities end. It is definitely not a horse. So you have just this weird elongated mask, face, bone thing grafted onto a human head. And the fact that it's even still like wearing clothing, you know? It's not like the closer or like a lot of other enemies where it's just sort of fleshy or skin-like in its appearance. This one has a distinct like fabric on it. Annoying enemy to deal with, but really cool design. Really creepy. I don't know what kind of plant this is, but it's withering away. Poor thing. Yellow herb. Just need to pick it up and combine it. Oh, there's something here. Find the Holy One. Kill her? Question mark. And it's a photo of Heather. That's me. who could have taken this photo? And if you look at the background, it's Heather in the mall. It's a photo from earlier in the day. So it's not like a really old one. It's not like anything else like that. It's something from earlier today. That's really creepy. So find the Holy One and kill her, ? There's a lot of different ways we can attribute this. This could be Claudia, who gave this information to Douglas, who's currently tracking Heather and has been, hired by Claudia to find Heather. But the Holy One remark gives us the idea that the writing is not from Douglas. Douglas wouldn't be aware of that aspect of it, so it would have either come from Claudia or possibly Vincent, considering we're about to meet Vincent. Because Vincent, I think, would be a little bit more on the fence, where the fact that it says, find the Holy One, kill her, ? They're unsure whether or not she would need to be killed or what. So all they know for sure is find her. Unsure of what'll happen after. Here's the examination room, and this is where we're going to meet Vincent. So, Vincent on the fence about murder? That's a Vincent thing to be on the fence about. Vincent's not just like a cold, callous murderer either. Like, he's selfish. He works with the cult and doesn't want Claudia's plan to work because it basically means all of life ends, existence ends, and he doesn't want that. He says it very clearly later on. He's all about the pleasures of this world, this reality. He doesn't want that to go away. But I don't think Vincent's the type to be very, cold and callous towards murder, towards killing. He's not just cold-blooded like that. Selfish, yes. Cold-blooded, no.
Heather. That's what you're called now, isn't it?
And who are you?
The name's Vincent. Don't forget it, okay? I'm on your side.
So you say. But how do I know you're not with her?
Her? You mean Claudia? Please don't lump me together with her. She was totally brainwashed by that crazy old hag.
Reference to Dahlia there.
Well, I guess crazy old hag is a bit harsh. She is your mother, after all.
Alessa's mother.
Mother? What do you mean?
You don't remember? So Harry didn't tell you anything.
It's where we first get our name drop of Harry from Silent Hill 1.
He hid the truth to keep you on his side. That figures. He's a pretty sneaky guy.
Don't talk about my dad like that!
Sorry. I apologize. Please, calm down.
How do you know my father?
So that's a
anyway?
very important reaction.
I know everything. I know about your past, too.
Then tell me what's going on.
You don't know even that?
That's why I'm asking. If you know everything, then tell me how I can put an end to this.
Not yet. Why not enjoy yourself a bit longer?
Enjoy? I feel like I'm going crazy. Does this place get to you at all?
Oh, it gets to me, all right. I find it most fascinating. Wait! I'm not finished talking!
I knew you were on her side.
How do you figure?
There's something wrong with you, too.
Something wrong with you two. Stress makes the god grow faster. Stress makes the god grow, period. That is the entire way that the god that is growing inside of Heather is becoming more and more real and growing more and more. It feeds off of negative feelings. So anger, sadness, pain. Anytime Heather's experiencing any of these negative emotions, that god inside of her is growing, which is why we see that reaction from Vincent. Vincent is aware. He knows who Heather is. He knows that she's the reincarnation of Alessa. He knows that the god is growing inside of her. He knows Claudia is working to ensure that that god is born. And Vincent knows that it grows through those negative emotions. So as soon as Heather reacts in that way, as soon as she gets mad and starts, reacting to Vincent's comment about Harry, he immediately is like, please calm down. Like, he knows that he fucked up. Like, he does not want to be the reason for Heather to feel anything negative that would cause the god to continue to grow. Completely goes against what he wants in the long term. Because Claudia is under the belief that she can get rid of all of pain and suffering by just getting rid of all life. Kill everything and let it all be in the paradise that is the afterlife. That's her belief. Vincent, even though he's a part of the same cult, his belief is different. He doesn't want that to happen. And we see a lot of sort of butting heads when it comes to different views on the cult's beliefs in this game. We see sort of Claudia's perspective, where everything is so wrong and corrupt that the only thing to do is just purge everything and let it all go to paradise in the afterlife. We see Vincent, who still believes in the cult, but he doesn't believe in killing all life. He thinks that there is value to the pleasures of this reality in this world. And then you have Claudia's father, Leonard Wolf, who essentially, there was a big rift between Claudia and her father, Leonard, because of Leonard having very different ideas about the cult. He felt that only cult members and people who were part of their beliefs, those were the only ones that deserved paradise, and that everybody else, was unworthy. So he doesn't believe in Claudia's plan either. But it's interesting to see that, this sort of branching of the cult and how all of their beliefs are similar but fractured. Going off in very different ideas, which is very common in real-world belief structures and religions. I'm glad they give that element of depth to the cult. They're not all just mindless following one single belief. We picked up some Oxidol. Use this to disinfect cuts and stuff. It foams when you put it on. We'll figure out what to do with that in a moment. You also have a junior high school chemistry book here. If you're playing this game on hard riddle difficulty, this chemistry book will not be here. It's just a little clue as to what to do with the Oxidol and solve this puzzle that's coming up later. When you pour diluted hydrogen peroxide onto manganese dioxide, oxygen is produced. Although oxygen will not burn on its own, it will help other things to burn. So there's your clue as to what you're going to do with the Oxidol, what other things you still need to have in order to start a fire. But yeah, that book, this chemistry book, only shows up to give you that clue if you're playing on easy or normal riddle. If you're playing on hard riddle, it's not there at all. I don't think I'll go in this room. That weird guy's in there. So she doesn't want to go back in there with Vincent. Understandable. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go ahead and call it here. Definitely a shorter stream today, but as said, I've been really sick since yesterday. Today, I still am not feeling great, but I didn't want to miss out on streaming 2 days in a row.